I feel like we're all talking about trends, we're all talking about style, but not many people are giving practical tips on how to actually find the clothing that will be the base of a wardrobe that you really love. So what to buy, where, and sort of how to make the whole process of shopping as fun and stress-free as possible while making sure to actually wear the clothes you have as well. And so that's what I'm going to do today. And before we move on to the actual tips, I wanted to say, what is sort of like my ideal closet, maybe your ideal closet. For me, it's like a curated sort of collection of pieces that's also pretty condensed as well, that each feel pretty special to me and also like they represent me, and then also really pair well with each other, so it makes dressing really easy. It's much easier said than done, as I'm sure you all know. So let's talk about how to actually shop for clothes and hopefully maybe find our personal style along the way. So obviously before we start shopping, I think the most important thing is to recalibrate and make sure that you know what you've got already in your closet. That might be as extreme as trying on every single one of your clothes and doing sort of a clear out, which I know those videos are also really fun. As simple as picking out a couple of your favorite pieces that you absolutely feel like represent your style, and then trying to see what these sort of commonalities are between them. Some things I really recommend here are, number one, to use a wardrobe tracking app. I use Wearing just because I hopped on it earlier, but I've heard Index is really useful as well. Whatever you have, it's really nice to be able to look at your own wardrobe as if you were seeing it online, like on an online store or something, on Depop. It's really nice to see color schemes and also how much you have of each type of item, as well as just like play around making some outfits in there without having to like ransack your entire wardrobe. Another thing with knowing what you've got is also sorting your clothes by season. I talked about this in my last vlog, but this has been life-changing for me, just to put my clothes into like summer, fall, winter, spring, especially the fall-spring distinction there. And I think what helps with this is when you put the other ones into storage and you take the ones out that you feel like are right for that season. Every time the season changes, you get that high of like new clothes, new outfit ideas and everything without having to shop, which I have found really, really useful. Other thing about knowing your closet is also, I think, just being aware of colors and fibers and fabrics. Number one, with color, I don't want to live by personal color. I just don't think that's very fun. I honestly don't think that's really stylish to be so like boxed in by sort of an idea of what you're supposed to look good in. Obviously, I'm sure we've all felt like what colors sort of suit us or even represent us the best. So whether you do like a personal color test or you just choose your colors that you know always work on you and always make you feel good, I think this is a really nice thing to have in the background, so that when you go shopping and you don't want to overwhelm yourself, you can just look through those colors. Or on the flip side, you can cancel out entire sections, like for me, orange or like heather gray. I don't really feel that good in them, and so I just don't look at the clothes even if they're cute. I feel like the true, fashion girlies will be like, that's such a waste. Like, you could have something really cute in there. You should be able to wear everything. Very, very true. But I think for the practical girlies, like the real life, just trying to get dressed and enjoy your outfit girlies, this is really helpful. Second point about fibers and fabrics, I'm going to link a lot of my favorite sort of like fashion influencers down below and their videos on sort of similar content. But Jennifer Wong is literally saving people thousands of dollars on the internet. She has changed my perspective on fibers entirely, and now this is probably the number one thing I look for in an item. Like, once I think something looks cute, I immediately look at the tag and see the fiber composition. She explains it a lot better than I can, but as I'm sure most of us know, natural fibers just last so much longer and look so much better than sort of like polyester or acrylic or any of those fibers. That's not to say I only have natural fiber items in my wardrobe, but after I learned that, I also felt like the pieces that feel the most sort of like clean, timeless, just like have lasted so well in my wardrobe are almost always like 100% cotton, 100% wool, whatever. And so I think this is also part of just like recalibrating, making sure you know the fibers in your wardrobe. Do you feel happy with them? Do some of them feel itchy? Do some of them make you feel hot? Whatever. Maybe is it time for a clear out, or just in general thinking about what your priorities are when you're shopping, because once you notice that quality difference, it can really help, because it kind of cancels out like fast fashion entirely, which is kind of crazy. And the next part, and arguably the most important part of shopping, is finding your inspiration and making sort of like a list. There's a lot of great content out there on finding inspo for your outfits, and obviously everyone knows about Pinterest, whatever, so I'm not necessarily going to touch on those today, but more so like the practical element of how to actually decide what you want to buy from your inspiration. The first tip I got here, I got from Phoebe Taylor on YouTube, and I actually used it. It's on how to create a more sort of effective wish list. I'll link her video, but she recommends going through a bunch of the occasions that you have in your life. So that might be going for coffee coffee, that might be a work day, that might be school, whatever, and then writing down a couple of outfit formula options that you have for all of them. And then what I did was I went through and highlighted the items that I already own, and the ones that you don't have there kind of act as like a wish list for the next season or for the next little bit, and it helped me so much. The key with this to me is not to write down a specific item that you want really badly, but sort of like a general category. It might just be like a cut, like a baggy t-shirt, or maybe like a more slim fit blouse or something. But I like thinking in terms of category as opposed to that specific like Everlane sweater or whatever, because for me it allows that space for serendipity and uniqueness that I'll get into later, but I think that's what makes fashion really fun. That's what makes shopping fun. And as someone who's still fully on the like shop in person train, I think that sort of like wiggle room is what allows for really great finds to come your way. And another tip I've seen going around the internet for a while is sort of like classifying your style into a couple of words, so like 3 or 4 words, and then making sure that whatever you get fits like 2 out of the 3. I actually really love this method because what it allows for is like juxtaposition, contrast, different aesthetics or like different sort of like tones you're going for in each item, but that all work together to create sort of your unique style. For me, for example, I haven't thought that deeply about it, but some descriptors I might use for my style are like classic or casual and kind of boyish with slight touches of like more artsy stuff. This has helped me so much because when an item fits into like 2 out of 3 of those words or like those categories, when I see it, it usually will go with the rest of my wardrobe pretty well, whereas if it only just fit into 1, sometimes it's a little harder to integrate. So yeah, in terms of inspo that will help you smart shopper, oh my gosh, shop smarter, I would really recommend 1, curating that sort of wish list that is very specific to your lifestyle and the sort of occasions that you have in your life, and I guess sort of like the wardrobe holes you have, and then also sort of classifying your style into a combination of different adjectives and different styles to then more easily decide what sort of items make up that unique combination that is your style. Okay, to now go into the shopping section of this video, and hopefully this is very helpful. I shop in 3 main ways. I shop new clothes, and then vintage clothes and thrifted clothes. And in terms of the distinction between vintage and thrifted, obviously they're both secondhand, and I don't necessarily follow like the 25-year rule with calling something vintage. I think it's more that it's like in a vintage store for me. It's something that has been curated, looked over once by someone else, and also because of that, then the prices tend to be a little bit different. I would say thrifted for me is like under, $15, $20. Vintage is like probably $15 to like $100, and so the price ranges also make a clear distinction between those 2 categories. When it comes to new clothes, and this has been the biggest change in my sort of shopping philosophy since like the beginning of college when I was younger, whatever, is that now I only shop for very, very basic things new. I mean, if you have a specific color and category of item that you want to be very seamless in your outfit and not something that pops at all, and maybe something that fits you incredibly well. So I'm talking white t-shirt, gray hoodie, denim, any of those things, those I will buy new. The reason I buy these new is I think the range of options for different basics in sort of like, brands that are operating today is just a lot better than like vintage or thrifted. Like it might take a lot more time, I think, and energy to sort through vintage stores or sort of thrift stores to find like the perfect white tee, for example, or a really nice pair of jeans that you like. I'm someone who easily gets exhausted by shopping, and so I think that when you need a basic, you want to try out different cuts, maybe different shades of that color, whatever, new works really well. A brand I love for this is Uniqlo. I think they have really great basics with very, very good quality. But what's important here is that the brand matters less than the longevity of the item in your closet. I really don't love shopping fast fashion that often anymore, but I do have pieces from Zara, from Urban, from Forever 21 even, that have lasted actually over 5 years in my wardrobe, which is insane. And to be totally honest, I think the quality of those brands even has gone down in the past 5 years, but just putting it out there that if you feel like it's good enough quality and it is exactly the item that you're looking for, that is really what matters, not if it's like a fancy brand. That being said, I've heard that some good elevated brands for basics are like Everlane, Cotton, or even Aritzia, and so maybe check those out if you're interested. I do think the investment is worth it here as well, especially if you know it's something you're going to get a ton of wear out of. Like the Sunday Best skirt from Aritzia that I thought was the most expensive little skirt ever, and now I've worn it actually probably 100 times, and so I think it's been totally worth it in my wardrobe. Just basics like that I think are worth buying new. Another thing I personally buy new are shoes. Again, this is maybe a little bit more controversial. Everyone might have their own preferences. I do look for shoes at thrift stores as well, but when I need a shoe, I buy it new, and I don't really need shoes. Like, I actually rotate between usually 4 to 5 pairs of shoes in my life. So all of them, I want them to be sort of like my perfect pair. Shoes are entirely up to your preference, but the two things I will say is, number one, if you are interested in Doc Martens, I will swear to you that they are the highest quality and longest lasting shoe I've ever seen. I think I bought mine though before the Made in England line became separated, and so just watch out for that. Read up on it on Reddit or whatever, and just make sure you're getting like the highest quality Doc Martens, because I've had mine for 6 years now. They are literally as good as new, if not better. The wear has just looked so good on them. I really recommend. Anyways, love them. Never get the shoe that is on trend at that moment. I think you're absolutely going to regret it most of the time, unless you're pretty confident that, again, it fits into like your 4 words, your personal style, whatever. Because I think even as someone who is not super like in tune with all the trends at the moment, I usually know what shoes are trending, and I think this is probably a common thing for a lot of people. So it's just one of those things that ages super fast because more people are aware of it. So I just don't think it's necessarily worth it. Find a shoe that is unique to you. Okay, now to talk about thrifting. This is my controversial take on thrifting, which is that I have actually bought my most regrettable purchases thrifting. I think I find thrifting to be an overwhelming experience now because everything is often so affordable, which leads to like what my boyfriend calls the Trader Joe's effect, which is like things at Trader Joe's seem a lot cheaper, right? Like, you know, the cookies or whatever, and so you're like, oh my god, it's only $2, let me get it. And by the end, you've gotten like 10 of those things and your bill is like $50 or whatever, or 100. Not good. And I think that what happens thrifting is like, I convince myself I am a fashion girly and I'll be able to style anything, when actually I just want practical things that I really love and represent me, instead of like trying to push the boundaries. I see so much stuff in there that's really, really cute, but I just need to accept that it's like not my style. So now what I do with thrifting is I go into the store with a specific idea, but not as specific as like, I need this in this color and the shape. More sort of like, I would like a baggy button down. I would like a nice winter scarf. Maybe a cool winter boot, you know, things like that. Basically what it does is it keeps the fun of thrifting, which is like these like random finds that are super fun, but also kind of puts these categories that again will fill those holes in your wish list, because I find that if I stray from these, I will usually get things I do not love. So yeah, I really don't go to browse thrift stores anymore. I only go when I really have an idea that I think I can score at, and I want it to be sort of like a unique piece still. So then you might ask, what is a girl to do if she loves shopping still but doesn't want to shop new or thrifting that often? And this is where sort of vintage stores come in for me. I want to put a disclaimer here that I know that vintage stores are often more concentrated in pretty urban areas or certain, you know, areas, and they're more easily accessible to certain people than others. And something I will say is, even though I'm going to later say that I personally like to shop in person, there are a lot of online vintage stores. There's obviously Depop as well, which I would pretty much classify as vintage, or ThredUp or things like that. So I want to acknowledge that this is not universally super easily accessible to everyone, but hopefully the tips can still apply. Basically what I do with vintage stores is I find a couple where I really love how they've curated it. And my standards for this are budget, style, variety, and quality. There are vintage stores I don't step into because everything is over $100. I'm never going to look at that stuff. You know, there are vintage stores I don't go into because it's a different sort of style than what I like. There are also ones that I think are too small for me, or that might have a lot of fast fashion and I'm not really interested in maybe that quality of clothing. I like to have fun and visit vintage stores for fun when I can. Also, if I'm traveling somewhere, I'll usually try and stop into a vintage store there and see if it, you know, kind of like fits my style. If I feel like there's a lot of sort of cool new things, they're reasonably priced, a lot of them feel high quality and well selected, these are the stores where I will browse. The ones I go into when I feel a little bored by my closet, maybe I've decided to treat myself, maybe it's the beginning of a season and I need something, etc. And sometimes I'll even just go in to get inspiration, like what clothes are out there, what sort of things could I wear, try a bunch of things on. I have found my favorite wardrobe pieces that I feel like are the most me at vintage stores, and I think the key here is that that extra level of curation for me saves me so much energy, so much time, and also money. I think it sort of combines to me the best of both worlds of shopping new and shopping something thrifted. It's a unique piece. It feels like, you know, one of a kind and represents you and a time, and maybe even like encapsulates a memory, but also is something that is good quality and has lasted and hopefully will continue to last. Truly, no one else is on your side when you're shopping. The stores are not on your side. The salespeople are not on your side. The models that are modeling the clothes are not on your side. Usually, to be totally honest, your friends might not be on your side. No one else is going to advocate so well for a closet that you will actually love as much as you do, because everyone else usually wants you to buy more than you do. So be your best friend or your own advocate. I usually like to shop alone or with my boyfriend, who is pretty brutally honest about clothes that I will wear and won't, and maybe my mom or my closest friends who know my style pretty well and again will be pretty brutal. Everyone else, no. And I think I find the best things honestly when I am shopping alone. The thing is, like I've been mentioning throughout this video, I do shop only in person usually. This is because increasingly I find that the drape and fit of an item is like probably the second or third most important thing about it. I want to make sure that things fit really well and also that they feel high quality to the touch as much as possible. Two more rules that really help here are when I'm trying on an item, I'll ask if it goes with the outfit I'm wearing then, or if it would have gone with like yesterday's outfit, for example. I'm someone who usually dresses slightly differently in terms of vibe per day to day for fun, you know, to add some spice to the mix. And so I think that if it goes with my outfit that I'm wearing then or yesterday's outfit, it will definitely go with a lot of items in my closet. And if I feel like I can wear an item straight out of the store, that feeling has never failed me. That item usually becomes very well worn in my wardrobe. My camera has left the chat. If I were a better YouTuber, I would wait for it to reboot and film the last bit, but we are so close to finishing this video, and I just wanted to say that yeah, basically these are my tips for helping you to hopefully curate a wardrobe that you really love. I think that with these tips and the knowledge I've sort of gained over the years, I've been able to put together a wardrobe that I feel really proud of. It's pieces that are really functional, but that I feel like are fun and oftentimes remind me of sort of like a place or a time or a person. And the best part is that when I pair them with each other, I think they represent all different parts of me in the way that I present myself to the world, which I think is truly the best feeling ever. The most important thing is spend less time in stores and more in your closet, or just like, you know, make a cup of tea and think a little bit about your clothes if you're really sort of wanting to buy some really good pieces. Narrow down that inspo, think about what your priorities are and what you actually will wear, and this will get you so far. You'll just really have a better time in the long term in terms of your closet. For me, the bottom line is if the item is good quality, if it fits into 2 or 3 of my words, and if it goes with the outfit I wore shopping, I will often get it and it will often last a very long time in my wardrobe. And especially if you remember that consistency is actually what leads to a really great personal style, and actually we feel a great need for variety and constantly changing our style, but for what? Really? To impress who? I don't know if this is helpful, but icons often have a uniform, so if that's who you want to be that girl. With that, I hope you found these tips helpful. I hope that you enjoy going off shopping with these tips, and also keep in mind that you can have your own tips that are totally different, and leave those down below, because I would also love to hear your advice and sort of like your help as I approach shopping throughout the future. I think we're just all trying to have a healthier relationship to consuming and also to our closets, and like feel better in our clothes, right? So yeah, that's the end of this video. Let me know your tips, like I said, and if you will be using any of the ones I suggested here. I hope that you guys are enjoying some of the fashion content. I'm using more of my brain cells to sort of organize my ideas, but it's been really fun for me, and I'm excited to see you guys in the next vid. Thank you for watching. Bye!